Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. And if you're not, thanks for returning. I appreciate it. When we last left Elvis, it was December 1968 and he was coming to terms with the phenomenal success of the NBC TV special. And as he moved into 1969, there was work to be done, new tracks to be cut to capitalise on that success. He was booked to record in Nashville, an environment he knew very well, but by all accounts it was Memphis Mafia member Marty Lacker that persuaded him that he should give a little studio in Memphis called American Sound a try. Run by Chips Moman, the studio had had considerable success with the likes of Dusty Springfield and Wilson Pickett, and great things were being talked about it. Apparently Elvis was initially sceptical, but made the decision that he was going to try something different. So a call was made apparently by Marty Lacker to Chips Moman, and although Neil Diamond was actually scheduled to record there, he was bumped in favour of Elvis. I mean, sorry Neil, but why wouldn't you? And actually Neil Diamond did do all right out of it, because one of his songs, And the Grass Won't Pay No Mind, was actually recorded at those sessions, so he did get some royalties out of it in the end. Those sessions, significant on a number of different levels. Firstly, it was the first time Elvis had recorded in a professional sense in his hometown since he left Sun Studios in 1955. And actually there's a synergy there, because Sun Studios was the last time anyone had actually acted as a producer for Elvis in the shape of Sam Phillips, because as most people are aware, Elvis was pretty much his own producer. He called the shots in the studio. He knew exactly what sound he wanted. He knew exactly what he wanted the musicians to do. And that's the way it went. But in the form of Chips Moman, things were slightly different. He was an established producer who wasn't afraid to tell Elvis when he thought he could perhaps do better, and did so on a number of occasions. And Elvis respected him enough to deliver. And that's the other thing about the American Sound Studios. In the likes of Nashville, Elvis had big professional recording studios with a big record company behind them. With American Sound being an independent organisation, Elvis was walking into a very, very different environment. There's anecdotal reports of apparently you could hear rats scuttling overhead in the rafters, and it was a very different setup to he'd been used to. And also he was facing a bunch of musicians that he was completely unfamiliar with, so he kind of knew that he had to bring his AAA game to those sessions, and boy did he deliver. So on January the 13th, Elvis arrived at Sun Studios, recorded until January the 16th. He recorded again from January the 20th to the 23rd, and the final sessions were held February the 17th to the 22nd. Those sessions produced no less than 33 completed tracks and a couple of little fragments of ones that weren't finished. And out of those 33 tracks, 2 hit albums and 4 hit singles were produced. Pretty decent hit rate by anyone's standards. And the music recorded at those sessions is still fantastically spine-tingling after all these years have passed. It is really Elvis. It is absolute pinnacle as far as I'm concerned. Even a bout of laryngitis during the sessions didn't stop him. There's all sorts of sort of anecdotal tales that you can find of stories where he was so determined to get things right that he wanted the house lights dimmed, and he sat there recording in virtual darkness with some tracks. I think it was Long Black Limousine. I've read that at some point he was almost curled up on the floor howling in frustration, embodying the character and the feel of the song to the absolute zenith. Those sessions and what they produced, to me, are probably probably about it. They're right up there at the very, very best that Elvis ever delivered. I would say that anybody that wanted to get a feel for those sessions and find out more about them could do no real better than this little book here. So it's part of I think it's just, the series is just called 33 1/3, and each book looks at a particular album. This one's by Eric Wolfson, and it's the first and probably the most significant album that was released of the material of those sessions from Elvis in Memphis. Published by Bloomsbury. You can pick this up for about the £10 mark. If you're after illustrations, you're going to be disappointed, because this is text all the way, but it's fantastic text. It delves deep into each track, a little bit of background about the recording of the sessions, but then you get a track by track in-depth look at each track. Fantastic. Can't recommend this highly enough. If you want to know about that album and about the sessions that produced it, pick yourself up this. It's a little cracker. Right, so let's have a little look at the releases that those sessions spawned. As with all my videos, the same caveat applies. This is by no means a comprehensive look at everything you can get around the sessions. This is basically just a look at everything I happen to own. So let's start right at the beginning with the album itself from Elvis in Memphis. And there you have a phenomenal amount of glare. So this is the album that sent Elvis right back to the top of the charts. There's the track list for anyone that's not familiar with it. Quite why they decided to go with a Viva Las Vegas shot on the back, I'm not entirely sure. This is probably stems back to some of the strange decisions RCA made about the pictures that they actually put on. But they could have taken pretty much any shot from 68, 69, and it would have, you know, better reflected the Elvis of the time. Yeah, not sure why they chose that one. Not that it's not a great shot, but you know, it's a different Elvis to the Elvis on the cover, isn't it? This is I believe it's an original orange label. I think it's the standard orange label, original UK press here. So this particular album was released on June the 2nd, 1969. And what was quite unusual for this is often Elvis's hit singles didn't appear on the albums. This was a ploy of Tom Parker's to generate more revenue. So quite often the singles wouldn't be on there. Although I think, you know, probably this is the first time that they did start to appear on a more regular basis. Although, you know, you will notice there is no Suspicious Minds on there. So the absolute killer single was held back for single release only. Not that In the Ghetto wasn't a killer single, of course, but yeah, there's the From Elvis in Memphis release. Now that was followed in the October the 14th, by a double album known as From Vegas to Memphis, and that particular first record is capitalising on Elvis's return to the live performance at the International Hotel in the August of 1969. But what they did as well was your second disc, known as From Vegas to Memphis, was Elvis back in Memphis. And what that gathered together is some more of the tracks recorded at the American Sound Sessions in January and February, and put those on the second release. This is a UK original, which isn't in bad shape. It's got a bit of a laminate peel going on. And for both of those releases, what I do have as well are the music on vinyl pressings. So there's From Elvis in Memphis, which is a nice press of that. And then I also have the numbered limited red vinyl Back in Memphis. I do apologise about the glare. I've tried to change the lighting a little bit this time. I'm not entirely sure it's working as well as I'd intended. But yeah, there's the Back in Memphis album. And what's interesting, when you look at the double album, the back of Back in Memphis is actually on the back of Elvis in Person at the International, and what would be the back of the International is, you know, because if you split these, they've kind of got they've swapped the backs around. Again, quite why, not sure, but there we go. Right, so that's all the vinyl I have. There's a lot of vinyl available around the American Sound Sessions, a lot of FTD releases, but I don't have any of those, so we're going to move on to CDs. Right, let's start with this one. Now this came out, I believe, 1999, and this was my go-to for the longest time for the American Sound Sessions. Elvis, Suspicious Minds, the Memphis 1969 anthology. This gathers together pretty much all of the tracks recorded and all of the fragments and pieces too. You get a couple of outtakes as well, and you know, this to me was my go-to. I've heard some people in recent times say that the sound wasn't particularly great on it. You know, to me it sounded fine, and still does. I think it still holds up. If you wanted just a one-stop shop, easy to get hold of, go-to for the American Sound Sessions, you could do no better really than this release, and it's quite easy to pick up. You can see that it was coming out towards the end of the 20th century, because it bears the Artist of the Century hype on it. Just give you a very quick flick through the booklet just to give you a feel for it. But yeah, I'd highly recommend, if you want anyone wanting a starting point for the American Sound Sessions, could do themselves a favour and pick up this little 2 CD set if you don't have it, because it is really good, really nicely put together, really nice running order. Nice to have a few selected outtakes. There you go, you get the idea. Very purple they've gone with this booklet. So that's Suspicious Minds, the 69 anthology. Now there was a standalone FTD CD, the Memphis Sessions, that was really quite worth having. That gave you quite a nice selection of outtakes. I did have that back in the day, don't actually have it anymore, but I'm pretty sure you can pick that up fairly easily, and that's a nice little addition to that, because you get lots of outtakes as well. Then we have the Sony BMG Legacy CD from Elvis in Memphis. This is a really nice collection, really nice sound on this. And what this does, this gathers together, you get disc 1, the original album, then you get some bonus tracks, then you get for disc 2 you get the Back in Memphis original album, and then you get the original single masters. So this is another nice little one-stop shop. You know, if you don't fancy getting the 69 Memphis anthology, then this is worth picking up. You get the artwork inside. Let me show you behind the discs. So, single cover of In the Ghetto. I believe this will be the single cover. Yes, it is, of Suspicious Minds. So really nicely put together. I do like these 2 CD legacy versions. You get a nice little booklet tucked away in there, so you see the original. See, now I'm looking at it, I'm kind of thinking, although it's probably not quite as comprehensive track wise as the Suspicious Minds anthology, I think it's a more cohesive booklet. You seem to get a little bit more background, a bit more information. and I do think the sound's better on this Legacy edition, so I may well revise my opinion and say probably if you're after a one-stop shop, although you're not getting every single track, I think this probably is the one to have. It's just all the track lists. So yeah, Legacy edition comes highly recommended. What have we got next? I will try and, as ever, include a couple at the end that perhaps aren't quite as common as the sort of standard releases. So then we've got the classic album series FTD. So here's from Elvis in Memphis. There's your track listing. Hopefully that's nice and clear. 2 CD release. Really nice booklet. It almost goes without saying when it's the Follow That Dream label that what you're getting is a quality product. And I think in terms of sound quality, this ups the ante even more. Photographs from around the sessions, packed with information. If you're going to go for this, it's gonna set you back more than either of those two that I just showed, and it's going to be harder to get hold of. I think for this one you're going to be pushing up towards the £100 mark these days, something like that. Being FTD, that's what they go for. Then we have Back in Memphis, that I believe I showed briefly on a previous video when I did the Follow That Dream set. So, oh hello, got a disc falling out there. That's not very good, is it? There's the track listing. Sometimes the way these sort of spindles in these, they're not always the most robust, and the discs can have a tendency to pop out, which you don't really want. Let's have a look. There's the booklet. There we go. Fantastic stuff. I mean, you know, hopefully it's quite evident that I absolutely love the American sound sessions, and so as far as I'm concerned, I'll get my hands on anything I can, within reason. I mean, some things can go for silly money, but yeah, lovely stuff. Super highly recommended, but again, not a cheap one to pick up. And then the final FTD that sort of rounded it out was this one, which is from Elvis at American Sound Studio. And this sort of gathers together the bits and pieces that they didn't fit on the other two. So, you know, over all three, you do end up with a pretty comprehensive representation of those sessions. Show you the booklet on that one. I mean, how cool is that? How cool is that? And indeed that. I could probably say this about every page, but just brilliant. But you know, for these last three double disc sets these days, yeah, you're pushing £300, maybe more. Absolutely worth it. You know, I don't think you can do better than if you love these sessions, but it's a lot of money. But what you can get hold of, and I think it's still readily available, and this is a strange one, because this is a box set, 5-disc set that came out 2019. And the strange thing about this one, it is a Follow That Dream release, but it is on streaming services. So if you want to listen to this and you don't want to shell out for it, the likes of Spotify, YouTube, whatever, you can listen to this on. And I'm not sure how that's happened, because usually the FTD stuff isn't on general release. But this is for the 50th anniversary, and let me see if I can get you a feel for what you're going to get on this one. It's not a comprehensive sessions release. It doesn't give you everything, but you know, there's a hefty amount of material on this. Absolutely love it. Get your session tape boxes. And then this is never going to fit into shot, but I'll do my best. Oh look, I've done it. Nice multicoloured selection of disc there with the tape boxes. Really, really nicely put together. I'm not sure how much this can be picked up for these days. I would imagine it's pushing 100. I would have thought. But if you love those sessions, well worth tracking down. Just the way they lay out these things, I just think it's fantastic. I'm not going to show you every page, but give you a feel for what you can see. Just look at that. Just look at it. Wow. So yeah, really, really pleased to have these. But as I say, they're not the cheapest things in the world. It's a bit of hefty investment, but well worth it in my opinion. So a couple of things that I've got that probably aren't as widely distributed and available, so it may not have been something that everyone's seen. This is a bootleg, and I had this around the same time that I had the Suspicious Minds anthology, and this is probably one of my favourite bootlegs of all time. American Crown Jewels on the Bilko label. Selection of outtakes from the American sound sessions. Sound quality on this is really good. It's quite a bare bones release in terms of presentation. There's absolutely no point me getting the inner sleeve out, even though it's just fallen out, because it's completely blank when it folds out. You've just got a front and a back, and the disc itself isn't the most exciting, but irrelevant. Really, really great selection there. It's kind of a bootleg alternative to the Memphis Sessions FTD single disc. You know, a single shot disc giving you the outtakes, selected outtakes from the Memphis Sessions. So yeah, that's a really nice one. And also really nice, and this came out, I have no idea when. It's not that old, but it's a little box set, 5 CD box set called 827 Thomas Street. And I believe there are 3 vinyl releases, 3 separate albums of this as well. But yeah, this is nicely put together. 5 CDs, including remastered the Memphis record. Now the Memphis record, put a picture of it up. The Memphis record was slightly different mixes of the tracks from the American sound sessions, and this has a remastered version of that on it. So you get 5 discs. Each one's got a different photograph on the front, but the same kind of layout. Hopefully those track listings are going to come up for anyone that wants to have a look at them. So reel 1, reel 2, reel 3, reel 4, and finally reel 5, and that's Elvis with Chips Moman himself. Oh, that's the Memphis record, so that's the last disc. And you get a booklet. I believe that was one of the photographs on the vinyl versions of these. I can't remember what they were called, but I think they're still available. Again, you know, this is one of these, it's a bootleg, but could you tell? Look at it. It's so well put together. They really, you know, I know I've had some chats in the comments about, you know, the way that there's nothing really new to be released anymore. Everything in one way or another has come out. And it's now down to the fact that the bootleggers realise that the only way they're going to attract people is with presentation. So they really do go for it. If you were given this and handed it to flip through, I don't know how you would ever tell that this wasn't an official release presentation, because it's just so beautifully done. Yeah, so that's a nice little sort of alternative to the official FTD 5CD box. Yeah, it's cardboard sleeves and it's not quite as lavishly done, but still a nice little presentation and a nice one to have. And I'm pretty sure this probably doesn't represent everything I'll ever own regarding these sessions, because I just love them so much. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be adding to those over time. But that's what I've got at the moment, and you know, I think it gives a nice little flavour of what's out there in terms of those fantastic sessions from 1969. So I hope you enjoyed my little look through what I have. If you did, please do click the like button, and if you'd like to see more, you know, consider taking out a subscription if you hadn't already. It's one of the very few things in this world that's absolutely free to do, and there's no commitment at all. So what I'm going to do next time is move forward to March, April, and the shooting of Elvis's final scripted movie, Change of Habit. Till then, take care. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. God bless you. Adios.